In the part of California known as the East Bay area, we use 160 gallons of water each day for every man, woman, and child in the district. Where does it all go? You drink only a small part of it. Use only a small part for bathing. Such uses are but a fraction of the water demand you represent. For example, it takes up to 14 gallons of water to refine every gallon of gasoline that goes into your automobile. Oil refineries are big consumers of water. And so are sugar refineries, which require 430 pounds of water to produce every 100-pound sack of sugar. Depending upon the variety, it takes anywhere from 25 to 160 gallons of water to prepare and process a case of canned fruits or vegetables. It takes millions of gallons of water each year to protect our homes from fire. Thanks to the availability of water, the East Bay enjoys some of the most favorable fire insurance rates in the nation. It takes water to run our industries, to produce the goods, the products and materials which provide the community's payrolls. It takes water to launder the family's clothes and the family car, to keep our gardens green and blooming, in the public park, along the city streets, in the yard at home, and to fill the pools that provide our fun and recreation. Our needs for water are tremendous and growing more so all the time. This is a community whose demands for water are increasing constantly, from Castro Valley at the south to Crockett at the north, from the shores of the bay to the foothills of Mount Diablo. A community of well more than 1 million people. How does that community obtain its water? It comes from the mountain snows, far away from the East Bay, across the breadth of the Great Central Valley, beyond the foothills and into the mountains. So East Bay Water, as the East Bay Municipal Utility District is now generally known, built a great dam, Pardee Dam, to gather the waters of those distant snows, a storage basin known as Pardee Reservoir, nearly 100 miles from the rolling East Bay Hills, a storehouse for 68 billion gallons of soft Sierra water fed into Pardee by the Mokelumne River. When Pardee Dam was built in the late 1920s, East Bay Water served a relatively small area, less than 100 square miles. It took 5 years to bring this great source of mountain water to the people, to drive the first great aqueduct 94 miles out across the land, to build the tunnels, pumping stations, and filter plants, linking a dependable system to connect the East Bay with Pardee Reservoir. But by 2 decades later, East Bay Water had grown to twice its original size and contained almost 1 million people. Our single aqueduct was no longer enough, so a second was completed in 1949, parallel to the first. Ever since its inception, the East Bay Water has been known and admired as a classic water system, a system almost perfect in design and operation. Pardee Reservoir alone can hold enough water at one time to supply the district's present population for nearly a year and a half. But our assets are more than merely physical. One of our greatest assets is people. People who know how to run a water system. At Pardee, for example, there is a village of such people, making their homes there, performing a myriad different tasks. They patrol the watersheds, chart the rain and snowfall, guard the water level of the lake, and during the heavy spring thaws, release the surplus waters back to the river. They operate the powerhouse at the base of the dam. The sale of this power helps to lower the cost of water to the district's users. Maintenance crews are always on the move. The water system is not a machine which can be shut down for repair. It is a lifeline whose flow must be constant and uninterrupted. Even its pulse must be taken. For flowing water builds up static electricity, and this must be controlled to prevent injury to the system. And so the giant double aqueduct system reached out across space and time. By the late 1940s, these man-made waterways were burrowing their way beneath the ground, threading their way across the open country. And at journey's end, pouring as much as 150 million gallons of their precious cargo every day through a giant funnel known as the Glory Hole. Pure water, born of winter's snow, transported from its mountain sources to our thirsty communities. But the energies and abilities of this transportation system have never worked alone. In the East Bay Hills, 4 great terminal reservoirs hold the water in storage, poised at the point of immediate use. These terminal reservoirs add the waters of local watersheds to those they receive from the Mokelumne. Together, their capacity is 33 billion gallons, enough to supply the people and industries of the East Bay for 90 days, even if shut off from Pardee Reservoir. But gathering, transporting, and supplying water is only part of the job. The purity of water, controlled through scientific processing, is regarded by East Bay Water as its highest responsibility. Every drop we use is as clean and pure as scientific technology can make it. It sounds strange, perhaps, to speak of washing water, but in effect, this is what happens in the district's 5 modern filtration plants. That water from melted snow, run off over granite watersheds, comes to us as clean and pure as can be found in nature. But the water system provides additional safeguards for optimum purity and safety. So, in the filtration plants, our water is washed by air, treated for the removal of cloudiness or sediment, thoroughly filtered, and finally, a small amount of chlorine is added in accordance with prescribed health standards. Meanwhile, laboratory technicians run constant tests, making certain that every gallon that flows into the district is clean and clear, free of objectionable odors, and most important of all, bacterially safe. The result of all this diligence is a product well above U.S. Health Department standards. Water that is always safe for our people to use. It is a sum of many parts, the East Bay water system, storage system, transportation system, purification system. It is, in addition, an intricate distribution system. The present service area of the district covers more than 245 square miles. To distribute water throughout this vast area, The East Bay is polka-dotted with no less than 125 distribution reservoirs, the neighborhood supply stations of the system. Unseen beneath the ground is a vast network of water mains, blanketing the area like a giant web. The smallest of these, indicated by the thinnest lines, are actually 8 inches in diameter. Below these in size are more than 2,000 miles of smaller pipes to carry water to every home and building in the district. Every one of us is linked by our water faucets to this master distribution complex. Of course, if our service area were flat, distribution would be relatively simple. But ours is a region of rolling hills and rising slopes. So, to boost water to those residential hilltops, East Bay Water operates 89 full-time pumping stations, capable of pushing water to as much as 1,500 feet above sea level. This is why, even on the highest hills, you have a plentiful supply of water at your command. But this amazing water system, with all of its abundance, faces a constant challenge. It must anticipate the growth of its community so that it can supply the needs of the future, and the future is close at hand. In the foreseeable future, East Bay Water will have an area of 400 square miles and a population of at least 2.5 million people. This will more than double the existing needs for water. So once again, the planners faced the challenge of the future, projecting the needs for water even beyond their own lifetimes. Fortunately, more water was available from the mountain watersheds, more than the system of the 1950s could possibly carry. So in 1958, the people voted into being the $283 million Water Development Program. Thus, paralleling the 2 existing lifelines, a third would be added, the largest of all, with the supporting facilities to transport and distribute the additional water it would make available. Alongside the 2 earlier lines, a mammoth trench was dug, and in it was laid a new pipeline 87 inches in diameter, a pipe so large that men could move through it as though it were a giant tunnel. Unlike many pipelines, each of these sections was shaped from heavy steel plates. The inner surfaces of the thick steel pipe were mortar lined. The outer surfaces were wrapped with wire under tension. And coated with concrete to withstand the flow of water under tremendous pressure. had to be specially made, these pipeline sections, and laid in place across rugged terrain, and none more difficult than the shaky footing of the peat bogs along the land of the river deltas. This was a job for the pile drivers, to sink concrete and steel shafts beyond the quaking peat, as much as 65 feet down into solid footings. Big as the third aqueduct is, it represents only a part of East Bay Water's latest development. At the same time, increased gallonage requires increased storage. So, not far east of Lodi, work began on Camanche Reservoir, consisting primarily of a giant earth-filled dam and 4.5 miles of dikes. A reserve reservoir ready to store up to 140 billion gallons of spring runoff. Federal flood control features, built in, add safety to the downstream areas. The addition of Camanche makes it possible for Pardee Reservoir to be operated exclusively for public water supply, thus making full use of our water rights on the Mokelumne River. Another vast storage basin, Briones Reservoir, just east of the Berkeley Hills, has a designed capacity of 22 billion gallons. Local storage for waters transported by the 3 aqueducts. So the improvements continued, like a chain reaction. And within the metropolitan surroundings of the service area itself, the ones most noticeable to the public have been the covering of the neighborhood distribution reservoirs, decorated in a blend of tasteful colors, designed to avoid reflection and provide a pleasant outlook from homes on the nearby hills. As the need for water increases, the facilities for consumer service must keep pace also. And to this end, the district's new business offices are convenient, attractive facilities strategically located in several of our East Bay communities. It is a sum of many parts, this amazing growing water system, with an investment in plant of more than $305 million. And of all its essential parts, none is more important than its people, the human side of the district, the more than 1,100 men and women who keep it running. They are people of many different skills. In the field, they tend the giant aqueducts. In the offices, they work with machines and paper. They take the calls for service and render the services called for. They drive the trucks, read the meters. This is the constant challenge, to build ahead for the growing needs of a growing community, to be ready for those needs wherever and whenever they arise. And this is the objective, an abundance of clean, pure water for our families and our industries, for ourselves, our children, and our children's children, for generations to come.